The evening air was warm and heavy, the kind that clings to your skin and makes every breath feel labored. I had just returned home after a long day, craving nothing more than a cold shower to wash away the lingering exhaustion. The house was unusually still. My dad was working late, as he often did, and I assumed my stepmom, Lisa, was out with her friends. Lisa was the social type, charming, energetic, and full of life. She was only a handful of years older than me, having married my dad after he and my mom split. Initially, I wasn't sure how to feel about the small age gap, but over time, we developed a surprisingly easy rapport. Dropping my bag onto the couch, I headed straight for the bathroom. The icy spray of the shower was a welcome relief, and I stood there with my eyes closed, letting the water wash over me, my thoughts drifting. Then, I heard it, a soft creak as the bathroom door opened. My heart leapt. I hadn't locked the door, not expecting anyone to come home so soon. Before I could react, faint footsteps echoed on the tiled floor. I quickly wiped the water from my eyes and turned toward the door, only to see Lisa standing there. Her gaze was fixed on me, intense and unwavering. My pulse raced. She didn't avert her eyes or apologize for walking in unannounced. Instead, she remained there, watching me with an unreadable expression, as if trying to decipher something. "Lisa," I managed to say, my voice barely audible. I was caught between disbelief and confusion. Part of me expected her to laugh and explain it was an accident, but she didn't. There was no humor in her expression, no hint of embarrassment. She took a step closer, and I could feel the tension in the room rise sharply. "I didn't mean to startle you," she said softly, her voice calm but tinged with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "I just needed to talk to you." Grabbing the towel from the rack, I hastily wrapped it around my waist, my mind racing to make sense of what was happening. Why was she here? And why wasn't she leaving? The atmosphere in the small room felt stifling, thick with unspoken words. My heart pounded as I tried to steady my voice. "What's going on?" I asked, forcing calm into my tone. She took another step forward, her eyes locked on mine. "I've been thinking a lot," she began, her voice steady. "About you, about us, and I can't keep pretending anymore." For a moment, my mind went blank. What was she trying to say? Up until now, I'd always thought of her as my dad's wife, nothing more. But now, standing here, vulnerable and exposed, I realized things weren't as simple as I'd believed. "I don't understand," I said, though a part of me already knew what she meant. Her lips curved into a slow, deliberate smile, one that felt almost seductive. For the first time, I noticed just how beautiful she was. I'd always known Lisa was attractive. Everyone did. She had a natural beauty that effortlessly turned heads. But now, standing this close, seeing the way she looked at me, I saw her in a completely different way. "You're not a kid anymore," she said, her voice smooth and low. "I've noticed the way you look at me. Don't think I haven't. And I'd be lying if I said I haven't noticed you, too." My throat went dry, and I struggled to find the right words. Was this really happening? It felt surreal, like a dream, or maybe a nightmare. But the thundering of my heart reminded me it was all too real. "I can't do this," I said, my voice trembling, though I wasn't sure if I was trying to convince her or myself. She stepped closer, reaching out to touch my arm. Her fingers were warm against my damp skin. "Why not?" she asked softly. "No one has to know. It'll be our little secret." Her touch sent a shiver down my spine, and I found myself struggling to think clearly. I knew it was wrong, so wrong, but the way she looked at me, the way her hand lingered on my skin, made it impossible to focus on anything else. I instinctively took a step back, but the confines of the bathroom left little room to retreat. "Lisa, this isn't right," I said, forcing the words out. "What about my dad?" For a moment, her expression softened, and I thought she might step away, but then she shook her head. "Your dad and I, things aren't like you think. He's barely ever home, and when he is, it's like we're strangers. I've been lonely for a long time." Her words lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. I could hear the pain in her voice, the loneliness she'd been hiding behind her usual confident exterior. A part of me felt sorry for her, but another part knew this wasn't the solution. "You don't have to be lonely," I said, trying to reason with her, though my resolve felt like it was slipping. "There's someone out there for you. Oh, but it's not me." She laughed softly, a sound that sent another wave of heat through me. "Maybe there is," she replied, "but right now I'm here with you, and I know you feel it too." She was right. As much as I wanted to deny it, there was a spark between us, an attraction I hadn't acknowledged until now. But that didn't make it okay. "I can't," I said again, though my voice lacked the conviction it had before. Her hand moved from my arm to my chest, her touch gentle yet deliberate. Her fingers traced a line down my torso, and I drew in a sharp breath, my body betraying my inner turmoil by reacting to her touch. "We don't have to rush," she murmured, leaning closer. "But I know you want this. I've seen the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching." Her words hit me like a blow. I had fought so hard to keep my thoughts in check, to see her as nothing more than my dad's wife. But now, standing just inches away, she had stripped away that illusion. The temptation was unbearable. I could feel her breath warm against my skin, her body so near that the heat between us seemed almost tangible. I wanted to shove her away, to do the right thing, but every nerve in my body was screaming for me to give in. Just as she moved in closer, the unmistakable sound of a car pulling into the driveway broke through the moment. My dad was home. Lisa's eyes widened in alarm, and she quickly stepped back. The charged atmosphere between us shattered. "You should go," she said, her voice suddenly urgent. "We'll talk about this later." I didn't need another word. Snatching up my clothes, I hurried out of the bathroom, my heart pounding and my mind a whirlwind of emotions. As I dressed, the scene replayed in my head, and I couldn't stop questioning what had just happened, or what I was supposed to do next. How could I face my dad, and what was going to happen now between Lisa and me? The following days passed in a haze. I did everything I could to avoid her, though it wasn't easy. Every time we were in the same room, the air felt charged with unresolved tension. I could sense her watching me, waiting for a chance to talk, to be alone with me again, but I stayed firm, for my dad's sake and my own sanity. One night, though, when my dad was working late again, Lisa finally cornered me in the kitchen. "We need to talk," she said softly, but with determination. I knew there was no way to avoid this conversation any longer, so I nodded, bracing myself for whatever was coming. "I can't stop thinking about you," she admitted, her gaze locking onto mine. "I know it's complicated, but I don't care. I want you." Her words hit me like a freight train. I had tried so hard to bury my feelings, to convince myself that what had happened in the bathroom was just a fleeting lapse in judgment. But hearing her say those words out loud forced me to confront the truth I'd been denying. "I don't know what to do," I confessed, my voice barely audible. She stepped closer, her movements slow and deliberate, closing the gap between us. "Just be with me," she whispered, her lips so close to mine I could feel her breath. "No one has to know." In that moment, I made a decision. One I knew would change everything. Closing the distance, I pressed my lips to hers, giving in to the longing I had been suppressing for so long. The kiss was electric, charged with all the passion and tension that had built between us. It was wrong, I knew that, but in that moment I didn't care. All I cared about was her. The way she felt against me, the way she made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathless, our hearts racing in sync. "What now?" I asked, my voice unsteady. She smiled, a slow, seductive smile that sent a fresh shiver through me. "Now we see where this goes," she replied softly, "one step at a time." And so we began a secret relationship filled with stolen glances, hurried touches, and whispered promises. It was dangerous, thrilling, and entirely forbidden, but I couldn't stop myself. I was in too deep. Every moment we were alone together only intensified the pull between us, making the desire harder to resist. It felt like we were playing with fire, and deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before it consumed us both.